Good evening and welcome again to Business Building Business, brought to you live each week by the Cosmopolitan Chamber of Commerce. As you know, the Cosmopolitan Chamber of Commerce is the second oldest minority chamber in the United States. We have a rich history in the Chicago area. We have members from all types of businesses, and we invite you to join in with us every week. We are here to offer advice to those of you that just have an idea for a small business and for those of you that have established businesses. And if you tuned in last week, we talked about, we had our guest was Mr. Matthew Cooper, who owns Inner City Underwriting Agency, and he unveiled the Contractor's Bridge program, where they focus on providing surety bonds for small business, for minority and small contractors. And with us today, continuing on that theme, talking about surety bonds, is Mrs. Charmane Cargill. Charmaine is a CPA and the owner of C. Murphy and Associates right here in Chicago. Charmaine is very modest. She has a lot to offer. She works with small businesses every day, not just contractors, but because of her relationship with the Small Contractors Bridge program, she is going to talk about what she does for contractors. Welcome, Charmaine.
Oh, hi. Thank you for having me, and thank you. Welcome to everyone out there also. Yes.
And so first of all, let's talk about your agency before we get into what you do with the Small Contractor Bridge program. Tell us something about C. Murphy and Associates.
C. Murphy and Associates Financial Services is a CPA practicing firm. We help a variety of businesses, getting them established. If you're thinking about starting a business, just remember accounting is very important, and we might be one of the first people that you might want to meet with in order to get your business up and running and to lead you in the right direction. We're very proud of what we do as far as helping small business proprietors moving forward and establishing their business.
Well, I remember in starting my first business, when everybody talks about the business plan. You got to have that foundation, that blueprint, that guide. But you know what? The meat of a business plan are your financials. That is, if you take it to an investor, if you take, you put all this work into this business plan and all this flowery language and all the research, if you take it to a bank, he's going to flip through it, he or she, and they're going to go to the meat of it, to the heart of it, and what those numbers represent, and to help determine how much sense your business makes. So, do you agree with that?
Yes, you're so right with that, Rhonda, and that's what a lot of times that also gets small businesses into trouble, because a lot of times we have the experience, we know what we're doing as far as running the business and everything, and just opening the doors and providing the service that we do is not the end all of your business. And that's what we're finding, that a lot of people are getting into that trap of running the business, everything. They're not thinking about their taxes as they go throughout the year. It's good to know from day one what your finances look like, so when you start seeing a CPA from the beginning, they can help you to set everything up so you can understand where your expenses are going, because a lot of times when we keep it in our head and things like that, we're not seeing all the expenses, and that's not the best way to run a business. When you can see it on paper or on the computer, since we're now going digital with everything, it's so much better to understand what's going to happen at the end of the year. You can start making plans for your taxes. Sometimes, we come from a generation where we're taught not to pay taxes, and that gets us into trouble. But just like you said, the banking industry, wherever we might go to get a loan, or even the bonding, a lot of times they're needing to know what we're doing business-wise. If we always end up where we're at zero at the end of the year, we can't get anything. We can't do anything with that. The bonding company, the loan company, the banks want to know that. when they give you money, there's extra money after you pay all your bills, where you can come back and say, okay, yes, I have enough to pay you. They want a guarantee. And that's where us as accountants and more preferably CPA come in to help, because a lot of times they're not just trusting the books of an accountant. They want to see a certified public accountant signing off on those financials so they can know that, okay, someone did dig into it. Someone was trained with the knowledge to know how the financials should be laid out. Because this is a language that we talk,
Sure.
you know, business to business as far as the financial side of it. There's certain rules that we have to follow that, you know, people running a business might not think of. They think they're doing the things right, but it doesn't mean that it's correct. And we have to follow a process and a system. So the financial people, they read it the same way as we would read it. We talk in the knowledge where we all understand.
So some people might say, well, you know, I got QuickBooks, you know, I can do this on my computer. Why do we need a CPA? I know you touched on some of that, but if you can, you know, go into, can you answer that, you know, business person who's looking at their dollars, at their bottom line, and first of all, why do I need a CPA and I can't afford one?
Well, look at it this way. It's the same thing as hiring a lawyer. You know, as they say, a person who represents themselves is, you know, I guess it's not good for, you know, when you go to court and things like that. It's almost the same thing with accounting. Of course, QuickBooks is selling the stance that you can, they make it so easy for you to go in and fill out the forms, do whatever you need to do, and get your accounting going. But if you do not understand the rules, then you're getting yourself into more deep water with the IRS and anyone who comes in to look at your books. If you take those same papers and take them to, for example, a loan officer and have them look at it, 9 times out of 10, they can determine if some of your numbers might be, or even your descriptions as far as your choices and your expenses, were they input in the correct way, and where they can trust those documents. So a lot of times, even for me as a CPA, if someone, first of all, if I go to speak with someone for the first time, one of the questions that I ask them, you know, who prepared your books? If they're coming, you know, they're like, I have my financials ready. I just need you to do my taxes. I want to know who prepared your books. Then I want to know that person's background when it comes to accounting. Yes, you don't have to be a CPA. You don't have to be an accountant. A good bookkeeper can also guide you as far as having your books straight for the end of the year. But if you're doing your own books, I want to see your bank statements. I want to go through it and see that you're understanding what you need to do before I can say, okay, I will move forward with preparing your tax returns, for example.
So what type of training do you have to become a certified public accountant?
The training that we have to do these days, thankfully, even though I might be, you know, saying my age out here, but in my time when I took the CPA exam, you did not need a master's degree of 4 years of college, and experience was enough, yes, to get your degree. But as the millennium started, it was about that time they started to change the rules and everything, and you need to have at least a master's degree in order to sit for the CPA exam. One good thing, though, and I don't know enough to say, but back then you would have to take the entire exam at one time. Now you're allowed to take parts. You know, the 4 parts that we had to sit, 2 days, sit. I remember it being the merchandise mart. There was like 2 floors of candidates just sitting there with the pencil and paper, everybody, taking the exam and everything, and waiting for the results several months later. Now today you can go and take it in different parts.
Oh, you don't have to take all of them.
Not all at once.
No, the stress. But then on the other hand, I'd kind of like to get it over with, you know, rather than stretching it out.
Yes, and for me, again, the age thing, I prefer to see it all on paper. That way I can go through the parts that I need to and go back to it versus flipping screens to get to the ones that I've missed.
Yeah, we're aging ourselves.
Sorry about that.
As I mentioned earlier, and I didn't even invite our audience, please call in. This is a interactive show brought to you by the Cosmopolitan Chamber of Commerce, and we'd love to hear your questions, your comments. The number is shown on your screen. It's 312-738-1060. So we talked about your relationship with the Small Contractor Bridge Program. What value do you bring and where do you fit in?
Okay, the value I bring to the program is in many cases, for the Small Contractor Bridge Program, a lot of the contractors are not fully established business-wise, but then the expectation is that they have financials prepared by a CPA, and so I come in and bring value to them. I'm one of the people that they might be referred to, one of their choices where they can come to, so we can work together to get the financials completed with the CPA notes so that they can then deliver those financials to community insurance in order for them to prepare and see if they qualify for the bonds.
For a bond.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And if I'm a contractor or even just any small business, at what point in my business should I start thinking about your services or contracting with you?
My recommendation, whether it be me or another accountant, of course, feel free to call us. But my recommendation is from day one. I've had people come to me before they even went and got incorporated to say, I'm getting ready to start a business. Someone referred me to you. And then I'll hold their hands and walk them through the process and let them know what their options are and how many resources are out there for them. Because even for the small contractors, we want to make sure that they're taking care of the DBE and MBE certifications or the WMBE certifications. So, that will help them also to, get funds, get good contracts with the bonding in place and build their organization.
Okay. Also earlier I mentioned the fact that Charmaine is very modest. She also operates a business incubator. And it's right here in the city on Michigan Avenue for those of you that are thinking of starting a business or you are working from home and you need, a legitimate office space with phone and other support service. She does operate that right, with a fashionable Michigan Avenue address. And if you'd like more information about that, you can contact the Cosmopolitan Chamber of Commerce. And we could direct you to Charmaine. So we had last week we had several contractors call us, and so we're excited to be able to continue this conversation. And so, in what capacity, in terms of the services that you offer, do you assist the small contractor?
I do assist them with. Of course, some of them, they still have the shoe boxes. Nothing wrong with it. But I help them to sort through wherever needed so we can get their financials in place, get them computerized accounting services. I can assist them with their payroll, the certified payroll. I can assist with the certified payroll.
What's that? What's the difference between what's a certified and a non-certified payroll?
The certified payroll is a payroll that is requested for submittal to organizations such as IDOT for the weeks that you work to show you're certifying that you have paid these contractors at least the prevailing wage, and also you've also paid them their fringe benefits.
I see.
Yes.
And in many medical benefits, those kinds of things.
Yes,
okay.
Health and welfare. And in those cases, in many cases, the contractors are paid, contractors meaning your employees more so, are paid on a weekly basis, and that lists all the people who have been paid as employees.
And so you would help them with that. You hold their hand through that, process because that's, foreign to most people.
Yes. And in many cases, I am hired to complete the payroll on their behalf.
Okay.
I've had some contractors where I also prepare their regular payroll and then take the next step where we prepare the certified payroll report in addition to the EEOC monthly report that is also submitted on a monthly basis to IDOT and other governmental agencies who require those types
And
of
so what's
forms.
that?
That shows how many, the race. It breaks
Okay.
down the employees by race, how many hours they work, and also the category of their title that they worked within the capacity of that particular contract.
And so if a contractor does get, a project with a government agency or a large organization, these are the things that they have to do.
Yes.
It's not like, going down the street rehabbing, a personal home.
A private home,
Right,
yes.
yeah.
Yes.
You have to have, government. And our whole purpose today is to let you know there is someone here that can help you. And again, if you work, through the Cosmopolitan Chamber of Commerce, we have all of these resources at our avail. Members, people that are affiliated with the chamber that can assist you. So if a business person comes to you, what types of documents are you looking for? What do they need to get started?
I need to know if they're incorporated and do they want to be incorporated, what direction they would like to have their business going, and then we start making those decisions and let them know the different options they have out there. And as a CPA, I also try to help them to get an understanding as to which the corporations that they choose, how it may affect their taxes at the end of the year. So we've had, for example, some clients who might be an S corp, but now they're starting to make money that's over a higher percentage as far as their end of year income, and so they're like, I don't like how the taxes are going here. What are the options I have? So I let them know there are different options, and then they decide which direction they would want to take their business. If they know that they have a large contract payout coming up in the following year, it's not a bad idea if you qualify to change your type of entity so that you can better save when it comes to your taxes. And if I may, one thing I really want to mention, as you do business out there today, key thing is that we need to pay ourselves an income separate from what we do for the business, because you're working for your business. The expectation is that you're in the business working, so you should be collecting income. Those are the things that the IRS is looking at. Even though we might have a payout distribution at the end of the year, there are different things that the IRS looks for to help them determine if you're really an employee of the business. And then they'll go back and charge employee taxes for all those years, all those months that no taxes were collected on. And, that can be a hefty fine if you're not careful with that. So please, I recommend that you speak with someone who understands how the IRS laws work and to utilize it to your benefit in the legal way.
And well, it sounds like you, in addition to the financial services, you can also act as a advocate on a small business's behalf with the IRS. Do you speak with the IRS or work out issues on behalf of your clients?
Yes, I do. We also, in that type of business, they tend to use the word tax resolutions. And what we do, we try to negotiate with the IRS. If it feels like you're already in trouble with the IRS, have their ways and means to get something going with them. It's best to respond versus to ignore those notices. I know it seems overwhelming, but if you don't want to look at it, take it to the experts. Have them take a look at it, and we can break it down for you and work something out for you that we hope that can be beneficial to you, and it will not be a financial burden. Versus if you're to call the IRS yourself. It's good to have a mediator. Keep that in mind. Let that person deal with that for you, and you can focus on your business, running your business, making the income that it takes to even get you out of the hole that you're in. So those are some of the services that we do provide.
And so from your end, for the clients that you work with helping to secure surety bonds, what are some of the negatives, things that, hurdles that small contractors have to get across in order to get what they really want, which is the bond?
Yes, and some of the hurdles that small contractors I see them faced with is having the financial capacity to cover their expenses while they might be waiting for their pay to come in from the agencies. So,
and that's where a lot of contractors get in
Yes.
trouble.
Yes,
Where they
yes.
don't have that money to tide them over
Yes.
until IDOT, or
Yes.
the state pays them. So, what kind of strategies do you suggest to help them with that?
some of the strategies I recommend that they would take is possibly getting a loan to tie them over. That's one way. I know that community insurance, I understood at one point they have different things to help with. Sometimes they have funds control.
Right.
You can work with funds control also to assist you to manage the money. Because a lot of times it's a matter of managing the funds in order to get through those tight moments until the
Exactly.
funds come in. And please remember, when the funds come in, I know it's an exciting time, but please remember that you still need to make sure all the taxes are paid. Don't say, okay, I'm going to spend this now. When I get some more, I'll take care of the taxes. The IRS doesn't wait. They don't want to wait. They don't care. Some of them, I was even speaking with a past IRS agent, and she told me that many years ago when she joined the Internal Revenue Service, the man that trained her told her that because the IRS came and took everything she had, he had when he was a child. It took everything his parents had. He felt like he needed to come in here and do that to others.
Oh.
Now, how fair can that be? The thing is, he's not going to break the rules, but at the same time, he's having no mercy on you. And please don't give up that right. Don't let those people have that hold on you. If you just do it right up front and manage your money well, you can go a lot further.
Yeah. Well, as you all know, we're inundated with commercials, on TV and radio about companies that can assist you in with tax questions. I know we've gone to another whole subject, but this is something, people want to know about. A lot of people are having, have challenges with the IRS. What do you think about all those companies?
Well, my experience and from what I've heard from other people who have utilized those services is that the IRS knows what they will and will not do for you. And many people already know the rules. Don't get caught up in all that you hear out there. All that glitters is not gold, as we were always taught, and things like that.
And you have to pay.
Yes. And if it's too good to be true, think about it. And yes, you have to pay. And I would hate to see you be out $5,000 and $10,000 when you could give that to the IRS and still have the same bill, only because there's certain things that some of the things you can handle yourself.
And those are things you can do also, too. You don't have to
Yes.
call one of those,
Yes.
companies that are advertising,
Yes.
a firm, like C. Murphy and Associates. They know how to call the IRS and speak on your behalf as well.
Yes. And it's good to deal with someone locally that you can meet with if you have an issue versus when the phone is all you do with that person. It's not necessarily the best way to communicate and get things done the right way.
Well, Charmaine, we're almost out of time for this evening, and I can't believe that it went by so fast. But as we part, what advice would you give small contractors, or small contractors or small businesses as far as when they're starting up or, using and how they would use an accountant?
My advice to small contractors starting up, please get someone who understands accounting from the get-go, making sure your books are accurate. Pay attention to your funds. Make sure that you're giving the IRS what's theirs. Make sure you pay your taxes, your employee taxes. Don't put it off because it becomes a problem and it's like a mountain if you're not careful with that. It's much better to pay smaller amounts than larger amounts. Keep that in mind. And for contractors, please remember, try to hold off on buying those expensive items as far as equipment or vehicles and things like that, because that's the number one reason why many businesses close today.
Okay. Thank you. On that note, we really appreciate you, and we appreciate you for joining in, and we hope to see you next week for Business Building Business, brought to you by the Cosmopolitan Chamber of Commerce. Good night.
Good night. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.